Fantastic. So again, hi everyone. My name is Samuel Guillaume. I'm the product manager in charge of Cegid Retail Y2, and I'll be hosting this webinar to give you an overview of edition 2022 of Cegid Retail Y2, a little bit ahead of the update campaign that's going to start for SaaS Advanced customers towards the end of the month. Your microphone should all be muted, and you can of course ask questions in the chat section. Not sure if we have time to answer them all today because we've got a few things to go through, but we'll make sure to get back to you once we have your questions. Maybe just as an introduction, maybe talk about the edition 2022 launch plan. So Cegid Retail Y2 edition 2022 or V22 became release candidate earlier this year. And we then started a pilot phase for some selected customers hosted on our European point of delivery. And following this pilot phase, edition 2022 was stamped or became ready to market at the end of March. So we're planning to, first of all, this is not, or this upgrade from technical perspective is seen as a minor update for us as team, because there's no change in environment, infrastructure, or so on. So it's pretty straightforward. Therefore, we'll be able to perform this update on all our pods. So Europe first, US, Asia, and then China a little bit later, within a quite reasonable amount of time. So same thing, first update of your test environment to give you some time to test new features and test that everything's okay for you before launching and upgrading the production environment. So you should all have received an email from, or your SaaS administrators should have received emails with the scheduled dates for your updates. As for SaaS dedicated customers or on-premise customers, it is your decision to choose when you will update. A quick recap of the vision, and again, what it is, what are the needs that we're trying to fulfill, what is the vision that we're trying to serve. So first of all, it's SaaS. We keep investing a lot, trying to expand, optimize as well our platforms, and offer more cloud services to help you as well monitor what's happening on your environment. We still invest, and that's sometimes the thing or the part of the job that's not clearly visible for everyone. But all those non-functional requirements, investing a lot on security, I get back to that, improving performance, quality of deliverables, and documentation. CI/CD is something that we've launched, or that a new delivery process that was mostly initiated back in the time with MPOS, inventory tracking, and now Live Store. And we get back to that at the end of the presentation as well, because we're going to change also the pace and the way we're now going to release versions of Y2. Openness, of course, you all want more APIs. They're key. They're key for you, and they're the way you want now to integrate with other systems. So more APIs, talk about business notifications and new ways to extend actually our applications. UX and UI mobility, I'll be talking about this as well. The idea is also to always improve your users' experience, omni-channel collaboration. So again, enhancing platform capabilities. We're trying to onboard, recruit, and we get also a lot of traction from new ISV partners, and focusing a lot more as well. And this is also something that we try to showcase with the acquisition of Store IQ with their platform, Store Excellence, to also improve your staff engagement in store. Compliance, of course, so always more new fiscal requirements, always more things around data privacy, data residency, and finally retail intelligence, because we all know that data is key. Quick reminder as well that when we talk about Y2, and this session is focusing on Y2, so Y2 is powering, of course, front office, but this is also Y2 that powers new applications such as Live Store, inventory tracking, and of course still MPOS. This is also Y2 that's going to feed data into the Cegid BI solution, Cegid Retail Intelligence, but also your own BI if you're using one. And more, we see third-party applications leveraging our APIs, whether it's for you to build customer-facing apps or even integrate with your e-commerce platform. Or we've seen this year customers implementing self-checkout solutions leveraging some of our APIs. So I will start with with an overview of what's coming with edition 22, and we're going to broach a few topics. First one being documentation, security, API, and webhooks. A big part, which is what I have to call something, so I call it vouchers and tax, omni-channel, and other topics. So just for documentation, just to let you know that the online documentation portal was updated and that you will find there, of course, the latest Y2 release note, as well as updated technical prerequisites and documentation of APIs. Just wanted to focus on something because we get, and I get why, a lot of questions on Windows 11. So last year, we validated Windows 11 for back office operations. Nevertheless, there's still no long-term service channel version for Windows 11. Therefore, we cannot validate Windows 11 for the front office. Cegid's not validating it. Some customers are using it, then it would be your decision. Also, we have validated the updated or the newest version of Windows 10 LTSC, which is version 2021. If at any time this year or in the coming month, Microsoft comes with an LTSC version for Windows 11, we will of course test it and update our prerequisites. In terms of security, so I'm not going to go through all details, and every year it's about the same thing, but I really want to highlight and emphasize the fact that Cegid, again, it's not necessarily something that's visible, but we're investing a lot internally, but also getting support or attacks from from third-party companies that are trying actually to hack and penetrate our environment. So that's a lot of pen tests, things around code obfuscations, and a lot of things. And just to give you an example, and without divulging the name of the customer, one of our large international customers was unfortunately victim of a ransomware not so long ago. And out of 15 or 20 applications that were sitting in their cloud in various cloud environments, there's one solution that kept working. It was their point of sale solution. So this comes at a cost investment, but that's important. And I want you to understand that we are taking this very seriously. In terms of APIs and webhooks, so mostly APIs at this stage. So we've released or updated the employee salesperson service to now enable the creation and management of sales associates from a third-party application. So last year we had released or at least a new version or made public the user management API to let you create Y2 users from a third-party system. This year we've added the possibility for you to create and edit, update sales associates. Why? Because we have more and more customers who are now managing the full staff onboarding process from an HR system. And here was the idea as well to say, well, when you onboard a new staff, you can just do it from the HR management system and then have the Y2 APIs create the necessary data in Y2. So this is now available in production at some customers. We are working a lot on like what I call small APIs, but we want to make it possible for you and for some of our new applications as well and web apps to manage some configuration outside of Y2, and therefore there are quite a few new APIs. I didn't give the long list, but you can have the detail in the API documentation. Things like the ability to create rounding rules, to create customer titles, payment methods, user-defined tables, and so on, without having to connect to the system. For information, because Live Store is going to rely on a few web apps, whether it's for configuration or even start of day or end of day and so on, we had to expose some of Y2's business logic through web services, and those web apps will be leveraging those new APIs. There's been quite a lot as well of enhancement of existing services. We're trying when we can to standardize and homogenize our APIs. For instance, when trying to get a list of documents and so on, we're now making sure that you can either use the external, the internal, or the follow-up reference, where some services were using one or two, another one, different ones. So we're trying to standardize things as much and as fast as we can. We've also, and that will be interesting for us in the near future, and maybe for you as well. You know that we're lucky to have a solution called CBS, which is our studio application that lets you or Cegid or partners develop some customization around Y2 and so on. And for that, Studio is using what we call Z tables to store custom data within the Y2 data model. But that information was only accessible from Y2. We have now created a new service for you to query those tables and possibly leverage data that is stored there for any use you might find interesting. Finally, and on this one, we're tiny bit late, but it's coming. We're doing the final testing. So we have developed a new customer management service to replace at some point the legacy customer WCF service. So this new service, which is RESTful, will be available sometime in Q3. The create one is available. The update is we're a little bit behind schedule, but we're putting a lot of pressure on the team to deliver something very soon. And that's important because as soon as we're done with this and we're happy with this, we'll be able to start as well the refactoring or modernization of some older services as well. The sale document service being, of course, one of them. And the big new thing with edition 22 will be this voucher management service, which is still in beta version. I explain why in a minute, which I will describe now. And that's the vouchers and tax management section. As a start, as some of you may know, some countries have introduced tighter constraints around tax collection, making sure that companies are not collecting and therefore declaring tax as soon as possible. And France, for instance, as well as other countries in EU, but we've seen this in Asia with Thailand having implemented this 10 years ago. When taking a deposit from a customer, the tax, VAT or GST must be collected. There were ways in Y2 to do this, but also leveraging or relying on sometimes a bit unintuitive procedures. So we've decided to rework the whole way Y2 was managing vouchers in general to better track, store, collect, deduct, and so on, all the tax that could be rated. So first thing is that we've released with edition 22 a new module to manage vouchers. What's important is that the activation of this module is optional, meaning that those of you who will upgrade will have their environment and a database upgraded sometimes in the coming weeks will see no change at all, okay, because you will need to enable these new features. And when we talk about the vouchers, this is going to concern deposit payments, gift vouchers, gift cards, credit notes, okay. What's going to be new and what this new module or way of managing vouchers is going to bring is that now all vouchers can be used multiple times until the total amount is used up. Until now, only gift cards had this option. So you're able to purchase, let's say, $100 gift card and use it or redeem it over multiple purchases as long as you had money left on this card. So now we have implemented the same management for deposits, gift vouchers, gift cards, and credit notes. Okay, so standardization of management. To be able to better keep track of taxes, as I was explaining in introduction, we had to make the data model evolve a bit. So there are two main tables that will be impacted. The one that's uppercase, that's the one that is storing all the information related to vouchers. So when you sell a gift card, when you issue a credit note and so on, this is the table that gets updated and we have all the information. So this one will evolve to allow, for instance, storage and processing of tax related data. So that's the first one. The second one is PH, which is the payment table, because when a customer is going to pay a deposit and you're going to collect tax for a deposit, and taking into consideration the fact, as I explained earlier, that this deposit can be used over multiple purchases, we'll be able to not only track the amount of tax that was initially collected, but also the balance of tax remaining after the first use of that deposit, for instance. So important is that whatever is related to tax collection, tax deduction, on order, reservation, pickup, and so on, will be available in those tables. And because we did this, and because we have standardized the way we're going to manage all this, we have developed a brand new API called Voucher Management API, which is a RESTful API that will let you, from a third-party system, if needed, to create a new voucher, to cancel the creation of a voucher, to update, to close, to redeem, to cancel the redemption of a voucher, to get the detail for a particular voucher or get a list of certain vouchers meeting specific criteria. What that means is that even for us internally, and for those of you who have been using MPOS, for instance, MPOS has been able for many years now to sell a gift card, for instance, but we're never able to manage credit notes, for instance. Well, because we now have this API, our mobile applications, Live Store First, will be able to manage credit notes. I told you in introduction that this module is actually, and its activation is optional. We have actually built and embedded within Y2 sort of a migration tool to help you actually activate this. For those of you who are SaaS customers as well, we have built dashboards on our environment to monitor the activation of this function and possibly to be able to inform you if something goes wrong in the processing or the launch of this tool. We have also, and that's important because this may have some impacts as well on accounting, and interfaces, and so on. We have also published on the online documentation portal at least 3 documents to explain the impact on the accounting interface, a step-by-step implementation guide for this function, and also possible limitations and so on when interacting with external solutions. Here we're mostly talking those of you who may be using SVS or GiveX for gift card management. So you get specific information on this. This function, and that's important, is first being released under a pilot status. Why? Because during our pilot phase, and the customers who have tested this feature have not gone live yet, okay? And because not everyone is going to be interested or is going to rush to implement this. So all what we ask you is that you're free, of course, to activate this, but because we want to make sure that we're going to support you the right way and that we'll be able as well to monitor your progress. So if you could just reach out to your Cegid point of contact, whether it's your customer success management, your project director, even your partner, okay, they will reach out to us, and we just want to make sure that we'll be able to support you with this. So that was it for the vouchers and tax management. There's been a few updates or enhancements as well around omnichannel. The first one being about the introduction of a new order status, which is the awaiting validation order status. This new feature, I believe, is going to be mostly interesting for people who are using a third-party order management system that's going to use an iterative order allocation process. Let's say the OMS trying to allocate the order to multiple stores in Y2. The thing is that when an order gets created in Y2, be it by Y2 or by a third-party system, the order gets created as well as the full subsequent document flow. Okay, depending on the order fulfillment method that's been selected, it's not just an order that's going to get created. This might be a sales receipt for deposit. There might be a transfer request and so on. And every time the order gets created or updated, there's actually a lot of things happening in Y2 that are not necessarily vital at this stage, since the OMS is still working and testing different order allocations. So what we did is that we've introduced this new awaiting validation status just to ensure that while the OMS is still working, all we do is just create the order with this status that is saying awaiting validation. And we're going to wait for the OMS to have tested the different iterations to send us an update and at least change the status of that order to validated, to then unfold the or start the whole process in Y2. And this is going to and the main benefit is that we're going to save on resources as well, and that we'll be able to process more information faster for you as well. So that's the first one. The second one, there was a limitation in Y2 when using ship to customer fulfillment method, and that fulfillment was involving multiple locations, and those locations were not all stores or were not all web locations. Basically, all what was involving mixed location type order fulfillment was generating an error or was just not possible. With edition 2022, we're now able to allocate an order to multiple locations and to mix web and store locations to ship that order to the customer. So there was a limitation I won't be able to tell you why there was this limitation, but that was something we had. So the team has worked on this, and that's a new feature that's available. The third evolution concerns the management of reservation requests in stores. So I guess that those who are shipping orders from stores, those who are doing click and collect or e-reservations, may have enabled the display of this screen on the front office. This screen that shows actually in list the different requests received by the store. And this screen actually is going to pop up systematically at the end of every transaction. And we know that the more orders, the more difficult it becomes as well to manage, and that in some cases, especially during activity peaks, could be during Christmas, for instance, some people tend to disable this screen because it's just too much trouble being interrupted all the time, as you also need to serve your customers in store. Although this function and this screen was the only one until now to have this function, which is the refusal of a reservation request. Let's say that your store has received an e-reservation request for a product that is no longer available in store. Well, if you disable this screen in the front office, there was no way for the store to say, no, I won't be able to fulfill that order. So what we did is that we've added this function in the more standard order tracking screen, which is here, with now the ability, even if you have disabled the previous pop-up, give you the ability to refuse a reservation request. A few other enhancements or improvements with edition 22. The first one, we can say it's an improvement because it's going to help as well better manage international address formats, and it's also going to address the changes that have been introduced quite recently in France, for instance, and it concerns the management of addresses. So what was done with this version is that we have extended the length of address, city, region, and country fields. And we've also added a fourth line of address. Because we're changing this, we also slightly improved the user interface. So now, when opening a customer card, you will see the address stored in a notepad format with a button here giving you access to the edit mode. And now we've created a separate window for you as well to populate or create or edit address fields. Of course, because we've updated in a way or slightly altered the certain fields, we have updated our web services accordingly, and we have also updated our CAPNC and DQE connectors. So some of you may be using, maybe working with CAPNC and DQE for address checking. Okay, so we have updated our connectors. So please make sure if you're using CAPNC and DQE that you're getting the latest version of the connector. We've also made enhancements to the management of what we call price list aggregates. So price list aggregates are those files that are generated usually at night and downloaded at least twice a day onto the POS device. When you open the register and close the register, those files contain all the necessary information for you to trade or operate in standalone mode. Okay. The things that we know that the more stores you have, the more price lists you have, the more products you have, the longer it's going to take to generate those files, the longer it's going to take for your POS devices to download those standalone or price list aggregate slides. So we have developed and implemented a new alternative price list aggregates management engine, and the reason why I say alternative is that you don't have to use it. This new engine has been developed and is optimized for those of you who, again, are managing a large store network with a lot of items and a lot of price lists. In that case, you're going to see a significant improvement or processing time for the generation of those files. Okay, so again, this documentation as well available. And this is already in production, and some customers has proven to be extremely useful for them. Last one as well that we've improved. Not sure if you were aware, but we started actually with the latest version of edition 2021 to implement or to offer management of external IDs for the management of customers, stores, and warehouses, and this in the form of GUIDs. So the idea is, and if we talk just about customers, we give you the option to store in Y2 a third-party customer identifier, so in the form of a GUID. Y2 is going to check the unicity of this code just to prevent you from assigning the same customer code to two different customers. And this is important because we've also implemented this in most web services at this stage. And what we've done is that we have implemented in Y2 or around Y2 sort of a reverse lookup function. What we understand is that when you place an order in Y2 from an e-commerce platform, for instance, and that you're using a third-party CRM, well, the e-commerce platform may know for example, the Salesforce customer ID and not necessarily the Y2 ID. So using this external ID and improved web services, you will be able now to create the order using the third-party identifier, and Y2 using this reverse lookup function is going to do the mapping, retrieve the Y2 ID to create the order. So that's an example here for customers. Those of you who had done some things slightly similar with a field called T_EAN, which we use to store third-party identifiers. Really, the big difference here is that it's been the implementation in web services is better, and you have a longer code as well to really have this GUID. So that's working for a customer. That's working as well for a store, for warehouse. For instance, if your store is called ABC in your ERP and 123 in Y2, you will be able in selected services to now call our API using the ERP identifier. So these are the main enhancements that I wanted to tell you about. And without saying too much at this point, we have promoted or advertised for, or at least since our latest user conference in Monaco. So we've been talking about setting a new pace, and we've been working a lot in the first quarter to be able very, very soon to introduce to you as well, because we're going to organize something as well to explain this new Y2 release cycle. The objective being that we want to deliver more new features faster. And that's something that you may have witnessed already when it comes to MPOS, inventory tracking, or live store. But we want to be able to do the same thing for Y2 as well. So we're going to again invite you to another session in the coming weeks to explain or explain the new methodology as well, but also the new release cycle. The good thing as well is that we also have more visibility internally as of what we'll be able to deliver in the short term. And I just wanted to share that we are currently working on finalizing some enhancements and new developments that are going to concern, for instance, taxation of e-commerce orders. We know that last year there was also a new regulation in in all countries of the EU, saying that if you take an order in a country but ship it to another one, you should always apply the tax model of the delivery country. So that's something that we've done and that we've modified last year in the core in Y2. For instance, if you were placing, if you're doing a send sale from a store in France to be delivered in Germany, we're able to automatically assign or calculate the tax based on the German tax model. We're able to achieve the same result for e-commerce orders by using certain workarounds and to also simplify the integration with your e-commerce solutions. We are doing a few updates on this. We gave you a bit of time with Edition 2020 to test the first web apps, so identity, company settings, and so on. We made those mandatory in 2021. We've received a lot of feedback, and we've initiated a big work with our UX and UI team, first to better integrate those and future and soon to come web apps, but also working on or completely reworking the UX and UI of those web apps. And we're also going to bring you quite a few new features. And we understand that in some cases there were legacy functions of Y2 like multi-criteria search and so on that have been sort of downgraded with or just disappeared with the web app. So we really want to reintroduce those features. And as soon as we've validated with our UX UI team the new templates, we're going to start the reworking of those web apps. We're also working on quite a few web services. So I said earlier that we're finalizing the new customer service. We are going to kickstart the rework of the new customer order, omni-channel customer order management service. And I didn't mention all we did as well last year around compliance, but we have quite a few things on our plate as well. As we speak, with Saudi Arabia introducing new things, financing things for Egypt, we are also refactoring some of our older country packages because we want as well to now promote SaaS in more regions of the world. So there was some rework that needed to be done. That's what we've done for Mexico. There's a big e-invoicing, e-reporting compliance topic for France, but not only. So we're working on this as well. We're also refactoring a Brazil country package to make it easier as well to roll out stores in Brazil, and a lot of things as well that are still on the way. That's all I had for you today. Because we still have a few minutes, I'm going to go and check the questions that we have received. So there's a question that concerns the SQL query service. So this is only for the Z table, okay? So that new API, let me just get back to this one here. This one, the technical Z table SQL query service is really for Z table. So really, it's about making CBS data available to third-party services and not just to Y2 smart clients. And no, I don't think there's a shorter plan to extend the scope of this. The web service updates. So there was a question regarding, I believe, the new customer web service. So we are now refactoring the new one. We have clearly created a new service, which also means, I don't know if you're aware, that's something that was introduced last year and that we talked about, but we've introduced not the concept, but there's a procedure on the online documentation portal that describes the rules of exposition of web services, statuses, and exposition. And we've introduced the concept of obsolete web service. So as soon as this new customer, the new customer management service will become released, which means that for us it's out of the pilot phase. So once it's been implemented, it's tested, and we know it's okay, we're going to make the customer WCF service obsolete, which doesn't mean that we're going to make it disappear, which means that we're going to give you 2 years to replace or to start using the new RESTful or SOAP customer management service. Okay, so in some cases it's very difficult to amend or update an existing service, especially since technology is also evolving. So that's my answer. So new service. Yes, there's a question about performance. So we know that for the some services that are still relying on components of Y2 that may be extremely sensitive to the volume of information that needs to be treated. And that's something that we need to fix. That's something that we know new services should not do. Everything, all those components that are relying on worker processes and so on. So we are clearly trying to get rid of all this. And this is also what is now driving our roadmap as well, because we want to get rid of that worker process and use more modern APIs as soon as possible. But yes, it is going to be addressed. Is there any documentation on how to use the new ztable service? There should be one. I will share this with you, because if it's existing, if for us it's released, it means that it is documented. No more questions? I guess we are right on time then. Well, if that's the case, thanks everyone again for joining. Sorry for the last minute change of link. Hope everyone was able to find their way here. Otherwise, we will very soon publish this presentation, and feel free to reach out if you have any question. Thanks everyone. Have a good day. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.